No, no, no.
On this side of the House, we believe in examining matters before reaching conclusions.
This is not the time to falter.
We're used to it now, seeing the cut and thrust of parliamentary debate on our TV screens, and although these days most of the coverage focuses on the House of Commons, it was in fact, and perhaps surprisingly to some, their colleagues at the other end of the corridor who were the trailblazers. As far back as 1968, there'd been an experiment to televise peers at work, although the catch was this was only allowed to be viewed in a few parliamentary offices. The experiment only lasted a few days, and it took a decade and a half for peers to decide it wasn't such a bad idea after all. And 30 years ago, the House of Lords gave the green light to giving the TV cameras a view onto their world. Reading through the Hansard of that debate from December 1983, you get a real sense of the fears of some members of what the impact of televising the proceedings would be. For example, Lord Peyton of Yeovil, he describes television as a thrusting and intrusive medium, whereas Lord Harmer Nichols warns that televising the House of Lords would weaken public's respect for Parliament. But on a free vote, the proposals were approved, and the stage was set for TV cameras to start filming the House of Lords. It took a few months of planning before the lights were switched on and the cameras were rolled into place in January 1985. Although cameras are now remote controlled high up in the roof of the chamber, in the early days they were in the thick of the action, right on the floor of the House. The BBC got in on the act as well, with a programme dedicated to covering the House of Lords. Those broadcasters with a ringside seat at Parliament saw that their lordships' groundbreaking decision could bode well for the future.
I think the Lords were more positive, more progressive. Of course, their coverage was less controversial, less confrontational, less noise, and so I think they knew when it started what it was going to be like.
Since then, despite its reputation as the more genteel chamber in Parliament, the House of Lords has still seen its fair share of lively moments captured by the cameras.
The reason I'm asking this question is because I am on the Joint Select Committee on Human Rights.
As many predicted, it was only a matter of time before TV cameras made their way along to the House of Commons, where there'd been similar opposition. So what difference did TV cameras actually make to parliamentary behaviour?
Having got them in, I don't think it made such a vast difference as everybody who didn't want them supposed. It certainly did change things. On the whole, I think the men wore brighter ties, the women wore brighter clothes, and there were a few little tricks so that somebody didn't look as though they were speaking all on their own. They had the custom of donutting, just getting people to sit behind so that whoever was speaking didn't look as though they were lonely on the benches.
Seeing pictures from Parliament on our TV screens is now so commonplace, it's easy to forget all the arguments and debates that took place about whether or not to allow the TV cameras in. But in many ways it's all down to that historic vote 30 years ago that means that everything from forensic line-by-line scrutiny of a bill to a big set-piece debate such as on going to war is now available for all of us to see.